Welcome back to a new episode of Ashes to Apex, and today I have a very special guest, Amanda Orr. Amanda was a journalist for 20 years, and after journalism, she went on to start her own PR firm. And through this PR firm, she works with politicians and does legal and political communications. Amanda, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You know what else I forgot to, another point I forgot to make was you had a presidential commutation through your work. And that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, in 2020, there was an imprisoned former U.S. congressman in federal prison, and I was contacted by his wife in March or April of 2020. So we were in the thick of COVID. I was at Herman Park with my children having a picnic and got this call, and somebody said that his wife wanted to get him out of prison, and she thought that if we could get the media's attention, that it would get Trump's attention, and he might be able to get out of jail. And I was like, man, I'm in politics, but I've never done anything like that. Yeah. But I do know how to get the media's attention. I was a journalist for 20 years. So I was like, let's give it a shot. And I barely charged anything because I was like, I don't want to take your money if this doesn't work out.
Right. I've been there before. Yeah.
Yeah. And it did. I think that's the great thing about being an entrepreneur is you can take projects that you're like, I'll give it a shot. And you can decide the price.
Some you learn from, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
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 So with this particular project, he's a Republican, and we believe that the judge was they were politically motivated with the severity of his sentence. So we went about it getting the media's attention through humanitarian narratives. So he's a gentleman in his 60s, has asthma, overweight, and he's in prison while COVID is going on.
Yeah.
And so I created a narrative in the media, letting them know that this was not a good thing, that this man was in prison. He could literally die. They sentenced him to 10 years in prison, not a death sentence. And he could have died if he had stayed in there.
Wow.
So, it hit the papers and it got to Trump and he was commuted.
So leading up to that, 20 years experience as a journalist, where did you work? What did you do as a journalist to build that experience and to be so awesome?
So it's funny, you and I have talked about it a little bit. I did not graduate college. And
oh wait, guys, we got to stop the podcast. Yeah, no.
But because of that, I have always been one that knows that you have to fake it until you make it. And so I would get these jobs just by asking. I was a grant writer at an abused women's shelter. And one of our board members worked for the Houston Chronicle on the editorial board. And so one day I had lunch with her and I was like, hey, I would love to get into journalism. I was all of 19 at the time. And she's like, sure, let me give you a shot. I'll let you write an article. So I wrote a few articles and that was all I needed. I just needed a couple of articles. And then from there, I started pitching to magazines like Time and People, and I started having success with it. And I was like, I can make a career out of this.
Did you ever feel like you had to work harder because, did you ever feel like you were at a disadvantage because not finishing your degree?
I did. There were terms that I just didn't know that other journalists would be using. For instance, I'd be covering a capital murder trial for Reuters, and even getting up to Reuters that high, there were still terms that I didn't understand that journalists would use or lawyers would use, and I really didn't know how to fake that. But one thing that I found is that people appreciate authenticity. And so I would say, look, hey, can you tell me what that means? And sometimes I would say, I know what that means, but I need to hear it in your words. Because sometimes I had heard of it, but I just didn't know specifically what it meant and if I had the right context. So I think a bit of confidence and humility at the same time. It's such a delicate balance. But yeah, those are the only times I really felt like I was at a disadvantage. Otherwise, once you form the relationships with judges and other media and attorneys, it's not hard.
Right. Yeah. I similar story here, but I remember just being, at a big agency and hearing people that had degrees from UT and Baylor and all these other places. They would also say things, and I would always wonder, man, is there something I don't know?
Yeah.
Right. And I would always question myself. Right. But
I do that I did that even in motherhood. When I had my children, when they were babies, I always felt like, why do these moms always know, like, at what age their kid is supposed to be sitting up? And I know it was that they were reading books, and I read the books too, but they seemed to have much more of an instinct about milestones. And I was like, so I think that's a natural part of maybe being a journalist, is knowing your limits, and knowing which questions to ask that other people like you would want to know the answers to.
So what does it take to be a journalist? I mean, is it natural curiosity? Like, do you have to be constantly in discover mode?
Yeah, there's a natural curiosity for sure, but there's a lot of reading. So prior to going into journalism, I was working on several novels, one of which Penguin Random House asked me for, which I did not finish because I got pregnant with one of my children. And so I think a lot of reading is something that's required of a journalist, which reading is not something that we do very often anymore. We're on our phones. Even reading articles can be hard with our attention spans. But reading books and getting that in-depth knowledge about a subject is really important.
So were you already like a voracious reader?
Big time.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
I've seen your writing as well too. It's excellent. So yeah, I can see why they picked you up.
Thank you. And then I think also to be a journalist, there's some form of, I think, intellectual aggression that you need to have. The willingness to go places that other people will not, because when you're working at a high level at Dateline or NBC, you need to get the scoop. And you need to get it before everybody else, and it needs to be accurate, because your media organization could be sued if you get it wrong.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of what I would call intellectual aggression that goes along with it, and just being the first and strategizing about how you can be the first. Okay, everybody is going to try to go to the parking lot after court, or everybody's going to go to the press conference. How am I going to get the story another way? What relationships do I need to develop?
Yeah.
I think that's what made me a good journalist, was that strategy. Which
building relationships. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I've noticed about you is that you have a lot of relationships, a lot of contacts, and you know exactly who to put with who and who to engage at what time. So I guess that comes with being a PR strategist, right?
Yeah. I mean, but I think that is something that I also grew up with. And so I was able to make good relationships and figure out how to help people, so that I was of value to them. And so that's something that naturally progressed into, what I do now. And I do genuinely love helping to put people together that are meant to be together, professionally, personally, whatever. I think that is one of the gifts that God definitely gave me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Awesome. So, so you were a journalist for 20 years, and there's some sort of shift that sent you into starting your own PR agency. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I was married. I was a journalist for 20 years, and I was married for 20 years. And those two things ended at the same time. And that was definitely the hardest situation I've ever faced in my life. My ex-husband and I are on very good terms, but even if it's an amicable divorce, it's a death, and it's one of the hardest things people can go through. But I realized quickly that journalism was not going to support me and my 3 children, nor was journalism stable at the time. And so I knew that a lot of journalists pivoted out of journalism into PR for the money. And so I contacted somebody that I knew and said, I can help you with your news reputation. And he hired me immediately. And so I felt very secure going into my divorce that I was going to be able to support myself and my children. And he happened to announce the day after he signed my contract, he announced he was running for a political office. I had no knowledge of politics other than there was Republicans and Democrats. Didn't know anything else about it. I had never followed politics. My parents were not particularly involved. I don't think they even voted really very much. I had voted once. But that I was like, let's do it. I'll figure it out. Let's do it. And so we did, and he got really, really far, and it's been a lot of fun. And once you work in politics and people know that you have a track record of being able to get the job done, you're constantly contacted about being in politics again.
Would you say that you have to be competitive, like, to be in this line of work?
Yeah, and I think that being a breaking news reporter, there's a lot of adrenaline that goes with getting the scoop before anybody else. I mean, imagine you're trying to get the story before the BBC or CNN or Fox News, and you get the story first. That is a rush.
I bet it is.
An international story, and you're getting it first.
But I mean, what do you have to go through to get that story in the first place? I'm sure it's very uncomfortable at times. I mean, you're having to go places where other people won't and do things other people wouldn't, just to get the story, right?
Yeah, and there's some unsafe driving that goes along with it.
Yeah, right. Unsafe driving, and I don't know if you have to spy on people or
no.
Yeah, no spying.
No. But yeah, so very competitive.
Okay.
So I don't have that adrenaline rush anymore of breaking news, but I do have the adrenaline rush of working with politicians.
Right, which is super competitive. Very. There's a lot of, I know there's a lot of campaign money involved, and you have to figure out where that goes, who's going to make them successful and whatnot, right?
And there's a lot of palace intrigue with it. Yeah. There's people spying on you, spying on your candidate. They're looking for opposition research. They're looking for any chink in your armor to get.
Wow. So do you have to do a thorough investigation yourself of the candidate so you know everything about them prior to going in?
We actually pay people hefty sums to do that opposition research.
Wow.
And I do my initial screening before I accept a candidate. But then after that, we actually hire people to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So through your divorce, just kind of lean into that a little bit more, just because you said that was the most difficult time of your life, career, all of it, right? What was it like? You were doing a major change. You just said that you felt secure because you found a good job opportunity. You were starting your own PR firm. There's a lot of money involved in it. Was that security enough, or maybe just, would you be willing to share a little bit about what you had to go through?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So when I was married, my ex-husband is a CPA. And so he handled all of our finances, and he handled it since I was 19 years old. And so I did not have that experience of handling my own finances. And so there were some financial difficulties for me that were pretty serious, and that was overwhelming. Even though I was making a lot of money, it was overwhelming. When you're learning how to live life in a new way, and you're raising 3 children, and you're navigating the emotions of the death of a 20-year relationship, Finances is really kind of one of those things that something's going to suffer, and it was my finances for sure. But I was able to overcome it pretty quickly. But God is the only thing that really got me through it. And through God, I realized that my coping skill of choice is work. And which turns out to be good, but also not so great when you have 3 children to raise. And so that was a difficult balancing act for me. And my 2 older children are in college right now. And I have 1 child at home. But that was the biggest shock of my life, was when my nest started to empty, when my children started to leave. And I realized I had spent a lot of time working, and I really wished I'd been with them more.
Right. Well, I mean, you had so much going on at once, and you were going through a divorce. You were transitioning to a new career, and simultaneously, you were trying to figure out how to manage your work-life balance.
Yeah.
I'd say you did all right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you get through that. By the way, I can only imagine what that was like. I mean, I also went through a divorce early on, young, but it was only a 3-year marriage, and I was in a very similar situation, except I chose to cope with, drugs and alcohol. And so I just completely stopped paying my bills for a while. But anyway, yeah. So I can only imagine, and I commend you for getting through it the way you did, because I mean, look at you now.
Thank you.
Right? So you get through that. You're going into the PR world. When was that? When did you start the PR firm? What year?
2018.
2018. Okay, so you're ramping up, and that was your first campaign? Was a political campaign?
Yeah, I was director of communications for his law firm, as well as director of communications for his political campaign.
So you went straight into working with lawyers and doing legal communication right off the bat?
Yes, because when I was working for Reuters and Dateline, I dealt with a lot of lawyers, and that was a natural transition for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. You get a lot of lawyers in the media. So
yeah.
Right. Okay, so then you get through that, and then that leads us up to, we kind of touched on this in the beginning, but you in 2020, December 2020, you got the presidential commutation, which is awesome.
Yeah, and that was funny because I had done a few months of this campaign, and initially it was really interesting. The day after I sent my first press release on that particular situation, he was told to pack his bags. He was going home. Basically, the media coverage had gotten where it needed to go at the prison.
Well,
and then he was told a few hours later to get back in his cell.
Wow.
And there are theories about why that happened, but it took another couple months of putting it in the media and rattling cages until finally on December 23rd, I was getting ready to go. I think I was getting ready to go on a date, and I got a call as I'm walking out the door, and it was NBC News asking me for comment on his release from prison. I was like, what? I had no idea.
Wow.
And I had never spoken to him. I had never spoken to the congressman at all. And within minutes of getting that call, he had called me, and he was thanking me, and he was on the way home. And it was really nice because, his wife was imagining the next 10 years of her life without her husband. And to be able to talk to him and for him to be on his way home, that was really gratifying.
Yeah, I bet. I can only imagine being in that situation, being in a prison cell over politically fueled, which seems to be happening more and more these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call it political lawfare.
Political lawfare.
Yeah.
Right. And we won't go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, it's a world that you're in right now. And um, today, all right, you are you do a lot. You are actually working on a political campaign right now.
I took 4 years off from politics
Mm-hmm.
because I just felt, to be transparent, I'm a Republican strategist.
Mm-hmm.
And within the Republican Party nationally and locally, it is so divisive.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 years ago, it was really when it hit a crescendo for me. And I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
My attorneys are good clients, and I'm going to stick with my attorneys and grow that part of my business. But a personal friend of mine came to me 2 months ago and asked me if I would be his comms director for his campaign.
Yeah.
And because of the person he is, because of the position he is, because of his reputation, that is the only reason I came out of hibernation or politics.
That's great. Yeah. I bet this candidate is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and he actually, I don't know if you want to say who he is, but can I?
Sure.
Okay. So, and he also helped Houston firefighters out quite a bit, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's somebody that has taken on corruption within city and state politics.
Yeah.
He's actually won. And it's interesting because he and I actually went to high school together. I went to the girls' private school, and then he went to the boys' private school. And he was 2 years younger than me. And then we ran into each other again when I was working for my first PR and political client. And so the firefighters backed that particular client. And so we got reconnected then. And then, we're working, and I'm watching his fight with the firefighters. And he actually won. And he is,
it was really impressive.
Dog with a bone. He will not let it go. And that is something I can't really say for myself, that I would have stuck with something like that. I mean, there were times that they were going through this fight, and I was like, man, y'all have got to give up. This is old. And he didn't. And I was like,
wow, just didn't give up.
Done. I'm behind you. I know you're not going to give up.
That's cool. And so so it sounds like it must be empowering to be able to work with just successful people in general. Just people that will go to the lengths, and you can see them persevere and when these things. Has there ever been anybody that you've said, no, I can't work with you, that wanted to hire you?
I'm sure there.
And we don't need a name drop or anything. Yeah. I'm just like, has there ever been an instance where you've just?
I'm sure there has been over the last 7 years or so, but
I ask because it's like PR, right? You're constantly having to create these narratives, and have you ever felt just like, I can't do this because I don't feel like this narrative is authentic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what happens in those situations? So, the thing that makes me different, and the reason journalists trust me, is because I was a journalist for 20 years. And I was trained by literally one of the best news organizations in the entire world, the most trusted news organization. And so journalists, just from our experience, we all have a lens through which we look at life. We can't help that. That's our bias. But Reuters really trained us to put that lens away as much as possible and be as objective as possible. And so that's why I get the success I do with journalists. My clients love that about me. But sometimes they will come to me with a story that I'm like, I'm not going to spin that way. It's just not what I'm going to do. They're not going to buy it. And if the journalist keeps asking questions, we're not going to be able to answer it. I'm not going to do that.
So it's not necessarily saying no to the person or the candidate. You're saying no to the narrative.
Correct.
And sometimes that doesn't work out.
And sometimes the client doesn't hire you for that.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But, you
got to believe in what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
And I'm, if nothing, I'm authentic.
Right. And I can see that, because it's like, if someone hired me to do something I didn't believe in, I wouldn't put my all into it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's going to be a waste of time for both of us, right?
Absolutely.
So you have this incredible skill and experience coming up as a journalist, going into PR, and you're good at what you do. What about but the other aspects of being an entrepreneur? I mean, have you ever faced challenges
Yes.
there? And like, what do you have advice specifically for anyone that?
So the reason I'm an entrepreneur, and it's something one of our mutual friends told me. He said, I'm an entrepreneur because I'm unemployable. And I thought that was really funny because it resonated so well with me. I'm a really hard worker, but I don't do well working for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I do have a calling, or I should say, I feel like I have a gift. But it does not do well working for another company. It just doesn't. I need to be the one making the decisions, calling balls and strikes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that a person that is thinking about starting a business has to have that mentality. Because certainly working for somebody else is so much easier. It's just so much easier. I could be asleep at night at a decent hour. There's just a lot of other things I could be doing if I felt like working for somebody else was for me. But as far as the challenge, there were two challenges. Initially, when I started my business, I had multiple very high-paying clients, like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
But the stress with that was so great because if you lose one client,
Mm-hmm.
you're completely dependent on that money that they are giving you every month. And so the best advice I ever received in business was from my dad, who said, you need a volume business. You need to sell your product at a lower price and get 15 of those clients so that if you lose one, it's not a big deal.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. And I grew very, very, very quickly. And the hardest thing about that is you do have to raise your prices, and you develop a bond with your clients, and you don't want to price yourself out of their budget. But when it comes to your time, they're really paying for your attention. And if you can't give them proper attention at your lower rate, it's time to go up and lose some clients somehow.
Yep.
Or alternatively, hire more people because you only have so much attention you can give.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a lot of people working for me now. And that has been part B of the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is I'm so used to being the one that gets it done. I'm so used to it that delegating is incredibly hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
I will get an email from a client and I'll just start doing it.
Right.
Rather than letting my people do it. And the thing is that everybody has a place in the world. Mm-hmm. And if you try to control it, or do everything for them, it's really a disservice to them.
And it's disservice to you as well.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like that was one of my biggest challenges too, was I just wanted to I had to be involved in everything. And it wasn't until I started to let go a little bit that I started to grow. And it seems like so counterintuitive because you're like, well, they're not going to do it the way I do it. And, I need to make sure they do it this certain way. But it's like, no, you have to be willing to let them make mistakes. You have to be you have to be gracious with that. You have to be, it's all a learning experience, right? And
that's a skill that is not something that we naturally do. I mean, it's definitely a muscle that we have to work out. And it is a struggle, but I'll tell you what feels really good is on a Saturday. So I use a project management software where all my staff, I will input what I need them to do. I will assign it. I will give it a deadline. And so like on a Saturday or Sunday, when they start checking stuff off, it's like, okay.
Oh, nice.
I can enjoy my day.
Yeah. Which project management?
It's called ClickUp.
ClickUp. Okay, I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. ClickUp if you're looking to sponsor any podcasts. And then so we've got so yeah, you also mentioned the advice that your dad gave you. That's something I learned as well. In fact, I've got it down to where if I have any one client that makes up more than 12% of my revenue, is my rule.
Really? How did you come about that?
I saw a guy another agency owner do an in-depth article about how he managed his business, and he had the same rule. And so I started looking into it. I was like, it makes total sense. And so I got a spreadsheet and I started, formulating it and building it out. I'm like, okay. And it ends up kind of being a guide also to what you charge, and what clients you actually allow to come on.
Yep.
Because
not all money is good money.
Yeah, right. No, it's like, look, if I can only handle three big clients and X amount of, mid-size and some small, right? It's like, well, maybe I don't need another big client right now, as much as I would love to take that on. If I bring that client on and I fail at that, it's going to hurt my reputation. And it's like, you can say no to somebody and you always have the opportunity for them to come back. Yes. And they will.
Yep.
And they will. They're like, man, they said no to me. Like, it's anyway.
I know for me, I can only handle 2 big clients.
Right.
I can handle about 4 mid-size and a lot of smaller clients. Right. But if I start getting more mid-size and more larger clients, that's when I have to staff up.
The large clients want your time.
Right.
The smaller clients, you have to develop systems for.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. That's so true. The large.
But you also have to think about how to add a lot of value to the small clients too, because small clients are typically, they want the most, and not saying anything against them. I mean, I've got some great small clients that rarely, I get good results for, but it's like, how do you add that extra value for them just so that they feel like you're not forgetting about them and just focused on the big ones?
Right, because you remember when you were in that stage as well, and $3,000 a month is a lot. We may call that a small client, but that is a lot of money.
Right, it is to anybody. Yeah,
it's a lot of money to anybody, and so you do have to deliver those results. And I think that the way I add value to my smaller clients is my mindset. I am a business owner, just like you're a business owner, and I don't do anything for my clients that I don't do for myself. There are certain softwares that I implement, certain marketing and PR strategies that I use on myself that I will use on them. Having somebody entrust you with their reputation and their money is a big deal. It's like a doctor being brought somebody's baby, to help get their baby better.
Yeah.
You take it very seriously. You may be busier than all get out.
Well, they're not just trusting you with their reputation, they're trusting you with their identity.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we've talked about that a lot. Like, just shaping your identity in general is a challenge, let alone trusting someone to manage your identity. You are. I mean, your identity to the public, at least, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it's an honor to be busy. It really is, and to be entrusted with so much. And so, making sure that I add value to them means I have to have the staff, and I'm so fortunate. I mean, I have really, really good staff.
Yes.
I think the other thing that it takes to be an entrepreneur is a certain amount of confidence that if there's a bet that you're trying to decide, should I trust this person or should I trust myself that I can get this done?
Mm-hmm.
Always take the bet on yourself, always. And if you are that kind of person, that's how you know you will be okay being an entrepreneur. Because we are constantly every day waking up and taking a bet on ourselves. I mean, you and I are taking bets on ourselves that we can pay our mortgage, we can pay our interest, we can take care of our children. And it turns out our bets on ourselves have paid off.
Have you ever been in a situation where you just felt like you had to put the bet on God?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean.
Well, and what I mean by that is this is completely out of my control. I can stress about this. I can lose sleep over it, or I can give it to God. Right.
Yeah. I wake up every morning and I do, there's this app called YouVersion, and it's the Bible app.
Yep.
It has these lesson plans and verses and prayers and devotionals. And I wake up every morning doing that. And I mean, it's not perfect. I do it most mornings.
I hate it.
And sometimes it's like in one ear and out the other, but I do try as much as possible to be in constant prayer and conversation with God.
That's awesome. Do you feel like I guess those mornings, when you wake up, do you feel, I know how I feel, but do you feel like does it shape your mindset for the day when you do that? Like,
So I'm be really honest. Oops.
Anyway, don't eat that.
I'll be really honest. Yes.
Yep.
Until the first fire or frustration comes out.
Right. Okay.
And then, whatever, my lizard brain takes over, and maybe I'll spin my wheels, maybe I won't. But
Yeah.
I have learned to develop certain sensitivities to how I'm feeling physically.
Mm-hmm.
And if I start feeling physically a certain way, I'm like, I know it's time to get up and go take a walk or get in my car, go get a Diet Coke, just remove myself.
You mentioned something about mindset earlier as well. Just, I think it's mindset to me there's a whole science around it, right? What books have you read, it could be audiobooks or whatever, to help shape that mindset? I'm always looking for new material to read.
So I'm sure you heard of this one that is like my most recent favorite. It's Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Oh, I've heard of it. I have not read it.
It is really, really hard, I think, for women. And I think people in PR, because we're very concerned about how other people are going to see our clients or how they're going to see us.
Yeah.
And so Mel Robbins has such a gift of like being able to connect with people on a very, she's able to meet us where we are and explain these very complicated concepts in simple terms. But that Let Them book is so great. I mean, anytime I start feeling that, like, sometimes you'll go out and have dinner with friends, and then you'll come home and you'll be laying in bed like, oh my God, why did I say that? That was so stupid. Everybody has those moments, right?
Yep.
That's who that book is for, is somebody who struggles with having moments like that, several times a week.
Yeah.
And I think we all have moments like that. So it's just a very, very good book. I have it in hard copy and I have it in audio. And when I start feeling that way, like I'm focusing too much on other people rather than God or myself or my children, I go ahead and give it a listen again because it's really, really good.
Yeah. How do you what do you do to get to like detach from the work and give yourself space at times? We all have to do that for our sanity.
So I try to take vacations. But I will say for the last 2 years, I haven't been good about it. But in this past May, I took my son to Disney for 8 days.
Nice.
And I mean, that's something that's really hard for any business owner to do. But I felt like, my son has been so patient and loving with my work schedule. And I just wanted him to know how much I love him. And I wanted, he's always had to share my attention with his siblings. And now he has to share my attention with my business. And so I think that stepping away and literally removing myself from my work environment is what helps me, and focusing on the eternal, which is my children and the legacy I'm going to leave for them. And, my business is great. Leaving an inheritance for my kids is great, but the greatest inheritance I think you can leave for your children is raising them well and loving them and giving them unconditional love so that they can meet the world the way they need to once you're gone.
Yeah, that's so great to hear that. I mean, I feel like being an entrepreneur, while I go through phases of just, like fear and I go through different difficulties and challenges, just like any other entrepreneur. The one thing that I'm really grateful for is the time and the flexibility I have to spend with my kids. I know that one day my kids might say, yeah, there are times when my dad was, kind of consumed or distant or whatever as I'm going through these difficulties, right? But I know for a fact they'll never say that I wasn't there.
That's right.
I know that they'll say, they'll be able to reflect back on good times and in the time that we spent together.
Yeah.
It feels good to be able to, at 2:30, be able to go pick up my kid from school and surprise him, or do that kind of thing.
It is the
right?
best. It really and truly is the best.
It's a trade-off, but it
is.
Yeah.
When my 2 older children were in their senior years of high school, they just so happened to have lunches where they could come home, but also a period right before lunch or after lunch that was like a free advisory period. And so both of them, their senior year, would come home and I would make lunch for them and they would take a nap. And that was like, I mean, you can't do that if you don't own your own business or you're not a stay-at-home parent. And that was just the greatest gift. I mean, you really don't get that time back with your children. And any time you can get with your teenagers is just like, it's the best ever.
Yeah. I've got one right now, and so far it's more like I'm the one trying to get time with him.
Yeah. No, I mean, to be fair, I mean, my children were normal teenagers, right?
Yeah.
I was embarrassing to them and all that, but it was like, at least I know that they know that I'm here for them.
Yeah, 100%.
And when they come back to town, I mean, we have FaceTimes every week, and we're very close. And I know I did that part of my life right. And if that's the only part of my life that I do right, that is all I care about.
Right. That's great.
And the other thing about being an entrepreneur that I did not expect is my 2 children, I employ them. And to be able to do that is also something that is incredible.
Yeah, we'll have to show some of your daughter's photography work, like on the podcast as we go through. She does incredible work.
Yeah, and she's able to support herself on what I pay her. And my son is just starting out with me, and he's in college himself, but he's able to pay for his golf clubs and whatever else he wants. And so that was a really unexpected benefit of being an entrepreneur. And there's little tax breaks you can give to your kids too if they work for you.
Yep.
And so
it's like 12,000 or something, or
I think it's higher than that.
Higher than 12,000. Yeah.
And travel expenses because they are genuinely working for me. I mean, I have no problem having my daughter work on a Saturday or Sunday for 8 hours.
So IRS, if you're watching, she's really doing it.
Much to their chagrin sometimes.
No, it's okay. I mean, I doubt there will be an IRS agent watching it out of all 20 people that
are left. Right.
But anyway, okay. So family life, you've come a long way there, right? You've built this incredible firm. You're working with political consultants. Is there anything that you haven't done yet that you still have, the apple in your eye, like, just something that you want to, that you would like to do?
I still want to publish a historical fiction book.
Oh,
that was what
you were writing before you even started your career, right?
And that was what Penguin Random House wanted. It was a book based on Couturier in 1920s New Orleans. And once I got pregnant, I got very, very sick. And so I wasn't able to finish all the edits that I needed to. And so I put that away and I haven't looked at it since.
Wow.
And I would like to look at it again.
You have to.
And re-edit it. But it's hard because this, when you're a creative person and you go back and look at something that's a decade old that you created, you're like, oh God.
Mm-hmm. Well, you kind of have to, like, you don't remember what that mindset was like when you were writing it, right? It's hard to redevelop that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's something I would love to do.
That's awesome.
How about you?
Me? Personally, I think that ideally, I want to get to a point where I think I just want to work with a certain level of client, right? That's just my goal for right now. It's just to get to that point, build a bigger team, and ultimately, I feel like I'm still trying to shape my purpose, right? And that was a question I was going to ask you. You did mention something. You said something about, you didn't use the word purpose, but your calling. You said something about you weren't sure if it was your calling. Well, in what respect do you feel like your work, I mean, we all have, so anytime we're, just someone that is got the trajectory that you do, there has to be some sort of level, like, where does that purpose and passion come from, right?
Yeah. So one of my first jobs out of high school was working as a resource librarian in American General in their corporate headquarters in Houston. And there was a poster that we had on the wall, and it said, "Be a fixer, not a finger pointer." And that really resonated with me. And it was instilled in us that we were never allowed to tell an employee that came to us for answers. We were never allowed to tell them, "I don't know." We just weren't. It was always, I don't know the answer to that question, but I know where I can find it. Let me get back to you. And I think that helped me realize my calling. Every person to me is like a library. So when somebody dies, it's like a library burning down. It's very tragic. Those stories are gone. Those connections are gone. But while we're alive, we can be the librarian in our own lives and connect the people that we know. Like, this is going to fit for you. This person is going to, y'all are going to work really well together. This person has exactly what you're looking for. That, I think, is my calling. And I think that's why God blessed me with the ability to make and maintain relationships, is because I love connecting people and making their lives easier.
I think I can see that. I can see that you have a gift and you know how to make people feel good about themselves. You really do. Yeah. And
it's genuine.
I've seen you encourage people out of that were in bad places, including myself, actually. I've seen you encourage people and lift them up. And I guess, doing what you do, it's definitely a gift you have, but it's something I've seen you do in your everyday work. So
thank you.
Yep. Something I really appreciate about you. Okay. So this has been an amazing podcast. I would like to, I know you already kind of touched on sort of a lesson that you've learned and you've given some advice. Is there any other piece of advice that you would like to give the viewers?
Yeah. So actually, I think now we're going to start seeing a resurgence of, quote, blue collar work because of the rise of AI. And I think that's great. I think for too long, people have been married to the idea that everybody needs a 4-year degree to be successful. It's time for that narrative to go away. I've always thought that was a terrible narrative. And you and I both know that AI, there are a lot of jobs that AI can do. And in the next year or two, there's going to be entire companies that are going to be downsized, and AI is going to be doing a lot of these things, the automation. So my advice for people who are in jobs like ours, where there are soft skills and not, quote, manual labor or blue collar work, is not to be afraid of AI. To learn everything you can about it, get to know how you can use it to make yourself invaluable, because every single person that's an entrepreneur right now, there's some secret sauce within us that makes us special, why we are so good at what we do. And I think that we have to face our fears about our jobs being taken over and lean into it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually, when it first hit, I was like, oh no. But now I've realized that, AI is generative AI, especially, and I know they're going to continue to advance it, but generative AI is essentially taking the information that humans have created and reshaping it and then just giving you a polished version of that. That's right. There's not true creativity It's truly not. It's all based on works that are already done. So everyone has a special
Yeah. And it needs more creativity and more infinite.
And brands will always be willing to pay for that.
That's right.
To be different, to be unique.
That's exactly right.
If you have everybody doing the same thing, right, there's nothing unique about that, right? So,
and I think that people who are able to express authenticity really well in a saturated AI marketplace are just going to become way more valuable. It's the same way that prints are not as valuable as the original oil painting. It's going to make people who are able to maintain their authenticity in business, it's going to make them a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you. This has been
Thank you.
An incredible experience. Thank you for telling your story. I learned new things about you today, and we've been, working together, and
we're friends.
And we've been friends for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on and spending the time. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and follow. We're on all the social media platforms and anywhere you can get your podcasts. Thank you again for joining us, and